quite quickly.
Yep, they did. They walking home after karaoke. Good times.
Were they walking or were they stumbling?
Both. Some of them,
Yeah, that's
helping each
to be
other
expected,
out.
though.
Yeah.
That's to be expected.
Yep. So we just got done with the flyby, which I'm showing on stream now. Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm in my big giant purple gal, and it was good though. Like Orby from SKL, we put it together, and then T-Raf was TR Bastion, and then Voodoo BCO was the NC.
Yeah, no, I'm just watching the stream POV now. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
you guys
good.
Had a good time there.
For the most part, I mean, we just flew around the map as one, trying not to kill each other by ram. I ended up getting a pretty positive KD regardless, just by being in a gal. But yeah,
that speaks volumes to how things must have gone, I imagine.
Yeah, it was good. And then they had a nice little battle there at the end, and
nice.
Yeah, Archie was covering it, and then Deeg was also covering it from his perspective. It was a nice thing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it looked like a good time. Didn't get a chance to do it myself, and quite frankly, I just felt like shooting stuff after a big week. But yeah. No, it looked like it was a good, successful event.
Yeah, it was.
Very good.
All right, but for us though, we're here to talk about perspective shift, which is a weird way, which is a weird thing for me to. When I was trying to figure out like what to name it, there were a lot of things that came up, but now everybody, we're StratSide 19, and Cami and I are talking. Call it perspective shift, but if you saw our last one about Outfit Wars, not even a month ago, I think it was, then you probably knew this was coming. And we got in the books. Here we are. We're both really busy. Cami's got tons of stuff he's doing right now, and we've got the Old Empire Showdown tomorrow. Go NC Connery, and just NC, by the way, we're gonna win it. I mean, it's already done deal, but we just gotta let the other factions know.
Yeah, exactly.
But today we're going to be talking about perspective, and it kind of is an extension of what he and I eventually broached about the evolution of his perspective and some of the things that were really interesting that we didn't get into specifically for Outfit Wars that just passed. For today's agenda, we will talk about the disclaimer, the scope of the talk, do some introductions, get into the discussion points, and then we'll wrap up.
Yep.
So, disclaimer, I'm Lanzer. I speak for myself. Cami, do you speak for anyone other than yourself?
Nope, just me, mate.
All right.
Me only.
So that's what it is then. And scope. What is this about? StratSide 19, this one in particular, is an exchange of thought between Cami and I. It's exploring perspective. I think mostly we'll be exploring his perspective, but just the exchange between the two of us. We have some overlaps, more than you might imagine. Just seeing our rap sheets, but then we also have some differences, and probably more so now than we did before, just by the virtue of how your perspective has shifted, and that's what we'll get into.
Yep.
So introductions. Cami, I did a little extra research on you, just to.
Oh boy.
You've been in since beta. Oh, also I kind of watched some of the old like UND podcast and rewatched some of it just to get freshened up, but you've been playing since beta.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm November. I was a open beta player.
November 2012.
2012, my friend. 2012. Yeah. It's been a long friggin' time. A busy time nonetheless.
You were 6 days older than I am, by the way, in game time.
Oh, really? 6 days?
Yeah, you were November 11th. I was November 17th.
There you go. All right, then. I must have done the thing on a school night where I'm like, I'm going to play some PlanetSide, and maybe a weekend after that or something. Who knows?
That must have been it. Yeah, but your playtime, you're clocking in at 106 days, and vehicle almost 20 days of that. So almost 20%. Which, looking at some of your videos, I would have thought I thought that number was going to be higher. To be honest. your rap sheet, and when I looked up your character, do you have alts that you sink a significant amount of time in, or is it just Camikaze78, the one on Phoenix?
No, so I do. So I've got, obviously this is my main account, but it's been weird, right? So when Briggs was on its last legs, once upon a time, I decided to very much spend a lot of time on Connery. So there is a Camikaze78 Connery character that is on Soltech now. That has got BR83 on it or something like that. In addition, you've got my TR and VS alts, which are both ASP'd respectively. And then you've also got some other alts. I think my Camikaze78 Connery Terran is the other account that I've spent some time on, because that was my Connery Terran Republic account at the time when Briggs was going down. So there's been a long history of a lot of characters there that I've spent a lot of time on. And quite frankly, if I had probably spent more time on this main account at the time, it might even be up higher than what it is today in playtime.
Okay. So probably not fully representative of what we see. 106 days.
There's probably at least another 50 days of playtime there, I'd say, at least.
Gotcha. Yeah. And it looks like you spend a pretty good spread across all of it, but not a max.
Oh, you know me so well. Which I'm sure will be a conversation of. Yeah.
I was interested to see that you spent almost 30% of your time in vehicles in what looks to be a Reaver? You spend a lot of Reaver time?
I did at launch for sure. I was a filthy air to ground main back in the day. My first ever Araxium. This is a very shameful fact about me, a little factoid, if you will. But my first ever Araxium in the game was the Breaker Rocket Pods. Back when they were disgustingly overpowered. So, am I proud of it? No. But did it happen? Yes. And no amount of copious drinking or anything of the sort will erase that from my history. The only thing that will do that is like the Men in Black flashbang thing.
Yeah, but, yeah, I gotcha. So well, you're trying to close in on it with 19% in your Vanguard, so there's that at least.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah. Have you gotten the Fafnir?
Fafnir. Oh, is that the new bundle?
That's the new A-piece turret skin.
Unfortunately, given everything that's happening IRL right now, I can't justify dropping that amount of cash on the game at the moment.
Gotcha.
But
it's dope.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I've looked at it at the test server, and it is a pretty cool looking skin. I don't know. It's probably not the skin that I would have gone for out of the gate. It does look cool, but for that amount of money, it's probably not something I'll buy on my own merit. But it does look pretty sweet.
Yeah. Normally, I run with my R-Heat, the rewards cannon turret, but it's a heat weapon, and I've just refused to go AP because I've pride and ego of having that thing. But I'm Fafnir right now. I gotta say, once I got over the JGX kind of honeymoon stage,
which has been buffed.
Yeah, I don't even think I read the patch note on that one yet.
Its drag has been completely removed.
What does drag mean?
I don't actually know, but all I know is that it shoots straighter and faster, I think.
Oh, that makes me sad. So it's not an artillery weapon at all, then.
Which I'm happy about, but
we'll
discuss that more.
Make it an artillery gun. You know what? We'll get into that. Sure.
We will get into that for sure.
So your YouTube, though, is clocking in pretty nice. 36,000 subs. Congrats, by the way. 1,000 videos. And I just saw that you broke 9 million total views. Congratulations.
I didn't even see that. Thank you. I hadn't even seen that yet. Wild. Thank you.
Yeah.
Busy time.
It's pretty awesome. Just, man, pretty awesome. So you got 300 subs in the past 30 days, by the way. I don't know if you knew that either.
That I do know. So YouTube Analytics gives you quite a bit of information on that, and that's actually down than what it has been lately, but that's mainly because I've been branching out a bit more lately, trying out new games and trying to sort of cement myself in other areas of the world.
Yeah,
gameplay.
Like I saw, your Modern Warfare thing and BattleBit. I know we're both waiting on that one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Battlebit does look amazing. But yeah, no, it's been an interesting month. Quieter than quieter than usual, but sort of planting seeds elsewhere, which has been very exciting.
Good. Yeah. So do you main New Conglomerate, or do you just nowadays you float around?
I sort of used to definitely main New Conglomerate, but definitely nowadays I'm a floater. Like if I'm doing like a certain weapon review for a certain gun, then I'll definitely aim to play that faction. But quite frankly, I go where the fights are good. If I see like a certain faction's having a really rough time and there's good fights on that faction, I'll just swap over and have a good time there. Yeah, I am
the
very
old
much
Lex maneuver.
basically, I am a follower of the fun of the fight, and if I see that New Conglomerate is getting terrible fights all night and is just not having a good time, then I'll switch. I don't really have any interest in partaking in that, to be honest. So,
right on.
Yeah, it's a different mentality to what I had years ago, but it's one that I've grown to enjoy a bit more over the years.
Yeah, well, both of us been beta players. We've crossed paths a number of times, and although not as much as out of game, I would say. I don't think you and I have really crossed paths too much out of game. Although I've seen your videos every now and again. I was never one for like patches and guns. Let's go to the discussion topic because this is where it really gets into it. So the way we came up to this one here, the perspective shift, was during StratSide 11. About 56 minutes in, we talked about, you said the phrase, losing is one of the most important parts of life. And then that kind of started like we should do a StratSide because your perspective, having watched Batty's year in review, having seen your importance of authority with Deeg, I understand your perspective has shifted, but I'm really interested to hear what that shift has been, where you were then, where you are now. And you mentioned it in your One Gripe with PS2 video, how you were a different kind of player back then. So let's jump into the shift. Where did you start? Where do you are now? And then we can cover the in-between.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I guess once upon a time, I'll be real. I have definitely changed. I am in no way, shape, or form I would argue that I'm way more competitively driven than I used to be. I used to be a very casual player. Like I would drop into PlanetSide. Again, it would be all about the spectacle, the back of the box experience, the shiny, that's a bastion, that wasn't a thing back then, but we're going to storm this hill on the crown and get 1 kill over an hour. And I was content with that. I was like, this is cool. I'm enjoying the moment to moment gameplay that comes from this. And, I'd be content with sitting behind a rock repairing a max for 15 minutes thinking that was a lucrative search strategy, right? But, for me, over the years, obviously that spectacle still sits there. I still enjoy the moment-to-moment gameplay that comes from, watching the cool stuff happen. But for me, I feel like I've started to chase something a little bit deeper in the sense that I've now really been pushing for seeking that... what's the word? I've been seeking an ability to work on myself as a player, to improve as a player. And I've been trying to look at the game from a very holistic perspective as of late and trying to work out why this game, this game's been on the market for 10 years. And we know that new players come in daily and are immediately ejected from the game in the magnitudes of thousands a day. Because I've always wondered, okay, why is that the case? What's going wrong? What are players, both from the MMO community and the shooter community, not liking here? So I guess one of the biggest shifts I've done lately is working out, okay, where are the problems? Where do they lie? And how do we fix it? How do we make PlanetSide 2 a populated game? And obviously, that sort of segues into a lot of the conversation topics I've had lately in the community and on my videos and stuff like that. But I've always believed that a lot of room is left to be desired. And I think we as a community or as a game, or I guess as a community and as a game across the board, we have a lot of work to do to get to the point where we can actually call this a welcoming experience for a lot of people, I think. And that's sort of where my perspective sits at the moment.
Yeah, is that one of the things? I watched my one gripe with PlanetSide 2. And as also a beta player who I think is still in that back of the box experience, I don't think, I notice the column issues, concerns with the game that you are at now, that Lex is, that, Baddie, that I don't think I'm there. And
right.
It's not obvious to me why I should be or if I should be. So what clicked in your brain that you needed to be there?
It's definitely come from conversations with a lot of the community over the years. Because I used to be of the opinion, like, yeah, force, like, you know...
Sure, you were a big Max fan, or you were the proponent of, defending the Maxes.
I have gone on the record defending certain playstyles in the past that I don't defend now. You know, one clip that is infamous, especially in Shokta's community, because Shokta reacted to this very clip, and I said, what's the problem with someone pulling a Maxu if that's how they want to, counter another player? But as I've sort of thought about that more and have thought about what the Max Suit is actually used for and what in actuality the Max Suit does to the balance of the game, my perspective shifted as I've talked to more people. Like I'm somebody who doesn't sit in one camp or the other. At least I'd like to think that's not the case. I try my absolute best to speak with all likes of players and just come down to the truth, because we all have opinions about the game and we all have opinions on where things stand. But I think there's always going to be some objective truth as to what's healthy and what's not for the overall approachability of the game from a new player perspective and from the balance perspective of the game. And I think that's something that I've tried to look for as of late. And people may argue that I have biases attached to that, which I probably do. But by the same token, I think the stats of how the game has grown over the last few years doesn't lie. And I think there's some outliers in the game balance that sort of approaches that. So that's sort of where my perspective has shifted over the last few years. I've seen conversations take place. I've had conversations with different players that I once wouldn't even dream of doing so.
Like who?
And it's well, like people like Lex. People like
the Salt Lord,
the Salt Lord himself. Yeah, I love Lex to death. He's he's strongly worded, but he's passionate, just as we all are. People like Baddie, I would never really consider Shokta.
I think Shokta said that you and him have grown to be friends, close.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked much lately because, I'm off doing my thing, he's off doing his thing. Yeah. There hasn't been a lot of overlap. We're both very busy. But yeah, here's a person, here's a person who had an opinion that I didn't agree with once upon a time. And we've sort of met in the middle ground over the years, and we've actually come to really quite agree on a lot about the game over the years. Which is just how the cards have fallen there. Yeah. And I think my conversations with people and the perspectives that I've been exposed to over the last sort of year and a bit, have sort of given me a new perspective on the game, I think, as a result.
When you said earlier that you were seeking the question I had in my brain, I can't remember exactly what you said. The question I had in my brain was, who is in the best position to know what's best for the game? Oh, you said that we were all, kind of seeking to the facts are in to figure out what is best for the game. Who is in that best position right now?
Well, I think it comes down to what you hear from the new players, for one. I say that. I think, when you've got people that understand the game so well at all levels, and the people like Lex, I'd say, understands the game pretty well at all levels. He's played competitively, he plays on live, he plays on Jaeger. I'd like to think that a lot of the content creators are, for the most part. I think there is going to be a matter of perspective between different people that would be regarded as who knows what's best. And maybe no one does know best, right? Maybe we all need to meet in some sort of weird middle ground, but I think the people in the game who probably do know the best, from my perspective, is the people that have put in the time and effort to become better players and to take the time to understand all perspectives. So the people who can spend time as infantry doing their thing, or the people who at least can competently fly air as well, and, you know, like, there's so many different aspects of PlanetSide where...
Seems like a very narrow list.
Well, I think it is, because I personally believe that too many voices, or too many... And this sort of goes into my point about authority here earlier. Authority that's on the slideshow here.
Yeah.
But I do believe that too many voices can... too much input can very quickly dilute what the objectively right decision is to make.
So your assertion is there is an objectively right decision. Too many cooks in the chicken. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
will disrupt that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have, 4 head chefs in a restaurant. You've got one. You've got the person who knows what they're doing, the boss. And then you've got, your support. And those guys will probably add input, but you've got one person at the end of the day who makes the decisions. And I think the healthy approach is to always, and that could be the developers, of course. But I do believe that if you take on board advice from everyone and treat it as objectively true as everything else that's being thrown your way from less experience, if you take advice from day one players all the time and make it, that perspective the one that you drive your entire game on, then the people who do have the experience, and the ones that may know how this impacts a side of the game a bit more nuancedly, it might lead to decisions that aren't actually that healthy for the end of the game.
I hear Lex's words in that.
I'm sure you do. Because we agree on a lot nowadays. We actually agree on a lot nowadays.
Okay. And what about that strikes you as... Well, first of all, does it strike you as obviously true, or something you've come to know and now you think is true?
As in, like, what do you mean by that? Sorry.
That's a fair question. Clarifying. So
no, all good.
I would say to Lex, someone who has been very talented for quite a while, since he's evolved from TE Enclave. I think I'm not misrepresenting him when I say that it's obvious to him that what you said is true. It is obviously true that the poor players should not have a say. And then here it is. Here's what he says: don't balance your game at the worst players level, at the medium.
I agree with that mentality to an extent, because if you do that, then what you have is mechanics that either lack no skill curve at all, and that hurts player retention at the end of the day, I would argue. Or you have mechanics that can be abused by very select people in the community to gain unfair advantages. And there's ways in which there's some mechanics in the game that I think allow that to happen, some that I think are relatively fair and normal, which I'm sure we'll get into later as per playstyle perspective shift. But when you balance from the lowest of the low in the skill department, I do feel like you run the risk of hurting your long-term retention and hurting your ongoing balance. And that's not to say that you can't give tools that are easier to use, right? Like, there are weapons in this game that have got really low recoil, super easy to use out of the gate, but they lack damage profiles, which is fine. It means that if you're somebody who feels like you need an easier wander into recoil control and you want to get better at the game incrementally, you've got things like, say, the T16 Rhino or the EM6, the Polaris. None of these weapons are meta. In fact, they all, I think... Oh, no, actually, the EM6 are pretty high rated. But anyway, there's a lot of weapons here that aren't the meta. Actually, it's probably unfair to put the EM6 in that category. But the point being, the more I say
there's that deep expertise that you have there.
Yeah. There's a lot of weapons in this game that, you know, they trade overall potency and skill curve for ease of use, and that you can certainly do that in the game you have. But when you have something that's stupidly easy to use, you can't give it the power level that allows it to disproportionately impact, you know, the battlefield as a whole. Because when you talking about
shotguns?
Shotguns I'm in two minds of. The shotguns are a specific problem to PlanetSide that I think is only a specific problem to PlanetSide. I see it very rarely in other games. I'm more talking about things like the Max Suit, Hesh, the Bastion, stuff like that.
Things that don't necessarily exist in other games because their architecture doesn't support it.
The Max is definitely unique. Vehicle play, I would argue other games handle much better. Battlefield, for example, I think handles it a little bit better. Mainly due to a limitation of how much assets can be on the map at once, for one, which is hard to do in PlanetSide. But there's more. The objectives in Battlefield are a lot more, I think, in tune with allowing vehicles to have an impact.
I mean, I play Battlefield. I go into Abrams or whatever tank I can.
Yeah, Abrams. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I am of direct support for. It's a different feel from
no, it is. Yeah. No, I pay that.
Okay. So
anyway,
the authority thing. You've spoken on authority quite a bit, and I think I clearly get where you're coming from. And I noted you said in Deeg's podcast, not number 32, but the importance of authority, where you said that you think you have earned that authority.
Yeah, I think authority comes from just having the experience of spending time with certain game mechanics, or like being on both the receiving end and the giving end of all these different game mechanics to truly understand how something actually works in the grand scheme of the balance of the game. And look, the whole thing about authority, this is like, okay, I'm gonna take a shot here where, you know, and I won't name names.
You're allowed to. I'm not gonna say don't, but you use your own discretion as you need to.
Okay. So my main point about authority, and this first came up in Baddy's podcast, or Baddy's Year in Review.
Yeah.
We were talking about certain content creators in the community making content on stuff that I personally don't believe they had the authority to talk about with an authoritative nature. The person I'm talking about here at the time was Zealous. And the reason I mention that is because he made a video on how to aim and how to be a better player in the infantry side of things, and he wasn't using his own gameplay.
Right, I remember that. Vatty noticed it, but Zealous did say in his description it wasn't his. That's how bad he knew, is when he read the description of the video.
It was hidden at the bottom of the description and wasn't mentioned in the video.
Wait, was it though? Because I remember being closer to the top. He just had to click the see more button.
It was closer to the top because his descriptions were tiny. It was still hidden below the show more button.
Okay.
I remember this. Well, it used to be at the very least at the bottom.
Okay.
But the point being, if you make a video on on authoritatively saying this is how you aim, this is how you get better, and your video doesn't explicitly state that this is somebody else's gameplay, to me you're hiding under the shroud of false authority. I would never go ahead and make a video about how to fly an ESF and use somebody else's gameplay, because I don't have the authority to speak about that. I'm not my playtime in the Reaver says otherwise, but I am not a good ESF pilot. That
brings up an interesting point, because as I pointed out, 30% of your game time as a vehicle player was an ESF.
Yep.
So if you were to tell me that you did speak with authority, your gameplay would support that. But you're telling me that even though you have those hours, you're not?
No, because playtime doesn't equal experience.
So how would I know that you have authority in anything then?
Well, I think my gameplay speaks for itself. In my gameplay, I can frag out 9 times out of 10 whenever I'm doing... in my weapon reviews and in all of the gameplay I'll ever release, I have a golden rule when it comes to PlanetSide. No gameplay under 7 kills in a life makes it into a video unless there's a very special exception.
Wait, what does that mean? You're talking about 7 KDR?
So my session won't be 7 KDR, but if I'm filming for gameplay, and if I get a kill streak of 7 kills or longer, boom, saves. That's a shadow play save right there. Everything else gets ignored. Everything else.
I don't think I've ever seen that disclaimer in your videos.
No, it's not, but it shows in the gameplay.
So me watching your videos, or anyone watching your videos, how would they know that and equate that to your authority?
Well, I mean, I think it speaks for itself when I don't die for 10 kills in a row. And the same with the next clip, and the next clip, and the next clip. If you see me cracking headshots in a clip, that proves I've got the aim, I think, to speak on authority on that front. And it's my gameplay. It says it's, I've always, you can see it's my graphic settings. You can see me playing on stream. If you want to question how good I am on stream, you can come to my VODs on stream as well. And I've never, and if I'm in a vehicle in a video, you can't see somebody else's name there. It's all me.
So until you said that just now, I didn't notice that from your videos. Does that say something about me, the viewer? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it might be something it's not something you're subconsciously looking out for, right? It's not something that you're subconsciously looking at, like, how many kills is this person going to get this? I mean, other people might do. I don't know that. But that's just a golden rule I have. I go, well, if I'm going to speak on authority, I need to show off that I am in a position of power to talk about this. Or not power, but a position of knowledge to talk about this, right? And obviously, once upon a time, I was doing weapon reviews with less experience, and I was doing, I was doing content where I wasn't anywhere near as experienced as I am in the game now. But, nowadays I've got hundreds of hours across all 3 factions. I've got directive weapons, most of which I've earned myself, but some I've not. But anyway, there's plenty of. I've Araxium DLMGs on multiple characters over the past. I feel like I have the ability to speak on some degree of authority about the balance of the game from an infantry perspective, just purely based on what I can perform as a player, which is reflected in my KD and my KPM.
So it sounds like you're saying if you make the authoritative statement, or you put out, like Zealous did, here's how to aim, and you don't make it obvious where your authority comes from, that it should be called into question. And it sounds like that's what you thought of when you saw Zealous.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Zealous was making a video about how to aim and wasn't using his own gameplay. I'm like, well, how do I know that you have the ability to speak on this? How do I know that this is... How do I know that you have the right to tell me how to aim when I don't know what your qualifications are? I don't know what your pedigree is. I've got my pedigree. My pedigree is my gameplay. I stream, most days, and people can see how I'm performing. That's
fair. How you having the authority? What did you think of when you watched this video? Was he right? Was he off?
Oh, I think he had. Zealous's video there in particular, to me, it was very cookie cutter for me. It was very much the same stuff that's been said over and over again by a whole bunch of us. It felt, look, I don't remember the video off the top of my head. It's been a long, long time.
Sure.
But it felt very, cookie cutter, like, oh, go check your mouse settings on Windows, stuff like that. It felt very entry level.
Got it.
And the title, I'll have to pull up the video. Give me a minute. Now that we're speaking about it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to roast him. Zealous, if you're watching, not what this is. This is drilling down to a perspective. So.
Yeah, no, and look, I've had chats with Zealous, and I flat out, I've got Discord DMs with him saying, look, man, He actually reached out to me after the Baddie podcast because he knew I was talking about him. We talked about. I told him why I thought it wasn't a smart play or wasn't a good play to do that. Here it is. Top 10 tips to get perfect aim in PlanetSide.
Okay.
To me, if you're going to start talking about how to get top 10 perfect aim in PlanetSide, and you're not going to back that up with how you're aiming in the game, I don't think you've got the authority to talk on that. That to me is clickbaiting for the sake of trying to get more views, and we all are trying to do that.
Well, he outright said that was what he was doing when we talked with Zealous, and he even cited you. He said that you're at a level that the most of us aren't. Like you can just come in and say, "Here's what it is," and then you had the views to back it up. And he's trying to compensate for that. So he's making it. He's adding the words like perfect, the sort of clickbait type stuff that.
And that's fine. And you have every right to do that. But you don't do it by pulling the veil over your audience and saying, "Oh, this is me. This is what I'm doing."
Okay, I see. The totality of the circumstances make it seem.
I don't care that somebody else is. I really don't care that someone else is coming in trying to do content for PlanetSide. Go for it. Like, I have made it very clear that I'm not going to be a PlanetSide exclusive content creator for the long term. I have, ambitions in my content creator sphere that goes beyond what this game can offer. So, bring it on. And I've always said, competition is great. I love having competition in the content creator space. It encourages me to do better. It encourages everyone else to do better. And clickbait is a part of that. I get that. I clickbait some of my videos. I do it all the time.
Fair.
The search ad. But I think when you clickbait something, there's a difference between good and bad clickbait. If you it's very much like the whole, you clickbait someone by putting a half-naked girl in your thumbnail and she never appears, right?
Yeah.
There needs to be some degree of truth to the door you're opening when someone comes into your video, because otherwise, if you're just making videos about how to do this, and then you're not bringing the substance or the authority that allows you to talk on that, then you're actually doing more damage than you're doing good for the community. Gotcha.
So you work very hard to ensure that every door you open, you can follow through on. Yeah, this is like, I will never do a weapon review without going over the stats first. I will never do a video on flying unless I spend the next 60 hours of my game time dropping some serious time in the Reaver, learning from the best players in the game, and doing my thing there. Okay. And there'll be times where I get it wrong, like everybody. Everyone gets it wrong from time to time, and I've admitted to that in the past. But there's always going to be, I think, an objective there to make sure that the truth that I'm putting forward is always based on the best intentions possible. And I'm not saying Zealous didn't have good intentions. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, I think a mistake was made there. And I think when you don't bring forth that authority, could he get it right in the aggregate? Do you know? Did I ask that question right? Like, the totality of all the 10 things that he said. Okay, not in his gameplay. Didn't make it obvious that it wasn't. All right, got it. But the things that he talked about, or the I lost the point of my question. Shoot. But can he get it right?
I know what you're saying.
Can he get it right for what he delivered, and then that be acceptable?
I don't know, man. Like, you can have a lucky hit, sure. What does he go with? Sensitivity, crosshair. Let's have a look see here. So I've just got the video playing right now. So there's some very easy talks here, like in-game info, monitor. I'm not going to watch the whole video right now.
It's fine.
It's fine. It'd be a bit of a gap. Look, I won't speak to whether or not he got it accurately right, because I just don't remember that video that well.
Okay, that's fine.
It's been over a year since I last watched it. And look, at the end of the day, it's here or there. I think for me, again, it's good to have more resources out there like that. But there was times where I have heard some questionable things come from a video like this. I think where about like how you should work on your sensitivity and stuff like that. So it's just a matter. Sorry.
For your videos, like I was just looking up. None of this is me trying to tear you down, by the way.
No,
so
please,
when I look at
on.
something that I feel like I have the authority in, like main battle tanks. All right, so I searched up MBTs. You've got getting back into tanking 4 years ago, MBT beginner tips. I'm willing to bet that you have authority on that. Testing the new specific tank weapons, the Chimera. You did something not long ago. Oh, never mind. That was the beginning of the drama video, so that didn't count.
Which one?
So would you say that in your importance of authority, you talked about one of the ways in which you think you may have gotten it wrong, which was that video that Carrick was his name, said the guy who said to your aiming video or infantry play video, hey, I think I
character name,
yes. So would you consider that an instance where you might have gotten it wrong, or do you think that it held water enough, just maybe not to the point that your criticism was?
I don't think that video necessarily got it wrong per se.
Okay.
Like character name. So the issue, the thing that happened with that video was character name called me out and said, this is not a video that's worthy of the title. And I thought, okay. And I said, go make a better one, and then come back to me.
Yeah.
And he rose to the challenge. He went out and made a video. He ripped into me a bit, which totally fine.
I watched both of them.
Yeah, I put him up for the task, and he definitely covered a lot more in depth than I didn't. And you know what? All power to him. He rose to the challenge. I put him out there, and I said, "Yep, let's do it." I don't think I got the substance of the video necessarily wrong. I think there's stuff I could have expanded on that I just simply didn't do.
Okay.
I still would say I've got authority to speak on that topic. I probably just missed out on some of the content. I probably missed out on the content more so than I got it factually wrong, I think would be the way to go. Maybe I missed that.
Gotcha. I'm starting to get what you're after. So can I have authority as someone who doesn't have the broader understanding of most facets of the game, but I have a specific expertise, call it or at least what I believe myself to be expertise in the Vanguard and construction. Is that perception self-delusion from what do you
I think there's always going to be bias at play, and I think everyone has a right to have, you've got, obviously you're a good Vanguard player. You obviously spend a lot of time on construction as well. I've not touched construction at all. I never have. Well, actually, no, sorry, that's a lie. I've spent a bit of time with it, but it was I put up a wall and a turret, right? It was part of the early days, way back in the day. So you've obviously got authority in that side of things.
At least I think I do. But say Clone watching my video or Delta watching my video and or Zarev, and they would call me out for saying, "Hey, here's the top 10 tips of blah blah blah."
Yeah, and that's sort of down to players comparing tips and working out what is objectively best. That's always going to be how things go forward. Right. You'll always have that balance of power, I guess. I would say you probably have authority in the application of or using those things, but do you have authority in the sense of what it feels like to be against those things too? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know your experience in that realm.
I mean, I've been on the receiving end of those things many times. Yes.
There you go. There you go. See, there we go. Yeah. So you probably do have the authority to speak on that with some degree of objective truth. So I do think that's a very strong balance to pull, right?
So then it sounds like my ability to show the math, show the money on my authority, just in the way you are, is what you would call speaking from authority.
I think authority comes from two places: your experience with the item in which you're talking about, and your experience against the item in which you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Understanding the use case and the impact it has, right? Understanding the give and take.
All right, that's pretty clear. Yeah.
So, if somebody spends all day in a mech suit, 24/7, let's just say, and there are people out there who I'm sure they know who I'm talking about, they may lack the perspective of what it feels like to go against that mech suit 24/7, and therefore may not have as much authority to speak on its implications balance-wise. That's my perspective.
Okay. And so I want to tie that now to your evolving perspective. Whereas now you seem very rooted in showing the money on your evolving perspective. You care a lot more now about improving as a player, looking at the game as a holistic experience. Wasn't that so long ago that Cami 2012 to recently-ish, you were putting out gun guides, you were putting out patch note coverage, but a stark contrast from when your gripe video came out, say. To me, that was a very notable shift in your perspective and in your coverage of it. I guess you could say your inner now was out on show.
Yeah, I mean, that comes from multiple places for me. The gun guides, so to address the gun guides thing, I would still do them today if it was feasible to do so. Quite frankly, there's enough gun guide stuff out there to the point where I'll be doing like most of Rel's reviews from way back in the day are still going to be very relevant to today. They've already they quite frankly they capture the algorithm well enough. So that's more of a cost to benefit ratio decision for me as far as a creator is concerned and where I should allocate my resources.
Gotcha. I mean, you're 1,000 videos in. I don't blame you.
Yeah, true. But I guess I still do the patch note discussions and stuff like that. I mean, that was my most recent video. But yeah, it's definitely, there has been a very stark contrast in being a bit more critical of the game over the last couple of years, and that's come from a few places. I think mainly due to primarily it comes from a place of passion. I want to see this game grow, but I truly believe some steps need to be taken before that can be allowed to happen.
You said some pretty, I would call them hard hitting, but also very. To me, it was good. It was positive. Like your great video was. I ended up. I took notes. I took notes about it, and I ended up writing my own reactions to what I heard you say, and it was. I ended up bolding a lot of stuff, talking about what I thought were very interesting points.
Yep.
The root of the problem are small factors that point you to avoiding a fight altogether to most efficiently satisfy that win condition, which is preventing fights from happening at all in this case. And how in other games it's never possible for one team to have more overwhelming pop. But then you said PlanetSide 2 takes that even further and lets players handle the quantities within the sandbox nature. And I thought, that's spot on. Spot on.
It's a very unique problem this game has. It's very unique.
So when what were some other triggers that happened in between gun guides and patch notes? You said the allocation of time, your sunk cost, it just became too much now and repetitive almost. Is it that you ran out of material and these other things happened, or in your pursuit of improving, something else clicked?
So definitely it's been, as you say, it's been a lot of things. So for sure, the pursuit of improvement as a player, 100%, that's become a lot more important to me over the years. Clicking heads, scoring chain kills. That's awesome. I love doing that. But I've also, as you say, I've been wondering. Okay, PlanetSide's getting all these really cool new features. What's going wrong? What's not sitting? So I started questioning whether or not the features were good in the first place, and not saying, bad in the sense of the assets are bad quality and the the audios or like stuff like that. What I'm saying is like, are they healthy for the game balance in the way in which they're implemented? You can still implement certain things and still make them healthy to the game. The Bastion's most recent changes, I would say, probably fit a closer bill there, but more on that later. So yeah, it was definitely the pursuit of improvement, the pursuit of looking at balance from a more holistic point of view and working out what's going wrong, why are new players clicking off, and are we addressing the problem correctly? It also came down to, again, speaking to people of different environments that I probably haven't spoken to as much previously that I probably should have done. So people like Lex, Baddies, Leroy even.
Was that understanding the impact? Zyros. Is that part of that equation?
Sorry. The impact definitely had an impact. It definitely had an impact because I just wasn't that exposed to that community outside of, me and Twitch chat, which is always hard to manage.
To be fair, I wasn't either until I started wading into more of the StratSide stuff and then seeing Shockter's reactions and getting involved in that. And now I understand the impact far more than I think I have ever understood the impact.
Oh yeah. And that just comes from challenging a perspective by talking to others with differing perspectives.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was obviously something. And I think just, things in that pursuit of wanting to get better as an individual player, there are some things that definitely stand out more as problems in the game. And I'm not really talking about my own ability to perform, right? It's not down to, this thing killed me over and over again, therefore it's busted. It's also a matter of thinking about it from the perspective of, well, how's a new player going to feel against this? Like, if I am a high skilled player and I'm struggling with this, what the hell is a new player going to do? So just stuff like that. And I think that's sort of what has brought me to where I am today.
So it sounds almost like those comments, the perspective of where you are now, it almost sounds like a feedback loop that you're looking to benefit the game through changes that will ultimately help benefit the new player experience?
I would argue so, yes. Yeah.
Would you say that that's a majority concern of where you are now?
I think we've been looking. So yeah, it is, and only from the perspective of I think we've been overly focusing on this. So this game has spent a long time talking about the new player experience. It's always been a problem.
Yeah.
And my perspective is that we've maybe been addressing it incorrectly over the years.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah. So we've been addressing the new player experience by giving players more things for free and by throwing a much better tutorial at their face, which had to happen. That had to happen, right? And we've very much been focusing on, making sure that new players get, easier weapons to use out of the gate, stuff like that. Hence the Gauss Saw being vaulted from being the default weapon, now being the GD22S, which is a much more stable platform to use, a lot less extreme in its ability to perform.
Okay.
So we've made all these steps, good steps, mind you, critical steps in getting the game in the right direction. But what we haven't addressed at all is the moment a new player steps onto the battlefield for the first time and what that experience is like at the core gameplay level, right? So what happens if a new player drops into a base that's being hash spammed? What happens if a player drops into an environment where a max suit is running around 24/7 and or a max crash comes through the door, or you've got some dude who's had 1,000 hours in his max just tearing up the house with a berserker implant attached? What does that look like for the new player?
All fair points.
Because a new player can at the very least go toe-to-toe with another player. They might struggle. They might not be able to aim as well. But a player with first-person shooter experience should be able to come into the game and at least get some kills. They should be able to leave the spawn room and navigate the map. They should be able to,
Agreed. I've long been of the opinion, hot take, that new players under battle rank 10 or 20 even should have a damage mitigator. Just a passive thing that helps them survive longer.
Oh.
But keep going. Not that they output more damage. It's that they take in less damage.
Then we run into the nanowave armor problem. Just saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it creates another problem. But in terms of, I mean, getting hash spammed is really just another another way to say that they die quickly, and they're spending more time or half their time respawning than anything.
Yeah, where I challenge that is that being hash spammed from 300 meters away has no counter to a new player. Dying to an infantry player or to another player in a 1v1 fight has a potential counter.
Well, I mean, is it up to the new player to counter? Is it their job to do that?
I think it's, well, when you've got a game that's entirely based on the well-being of the community to literally moderate itself, yeah, it does potentially fall on them to do that.
You did make that point in the Gripe video, and I noted that where I agreed with your characterization, what you said about it on the back end, which is what you just said, I disagreed. Yep. I diverged with you on that point, but keep going.
So yeah, my point being, when the entire game is all about freedom and sandbox nature, the community must moderate itself to generate an even fight. That's fun for all people to enjoy.
We're not going to do that.
We're not, because that is the best case scenario and the easiest way to achieve the win condition. To, again, kill the fight before it even starts.
Overwhelming firepower is what it's called.
Exactly. But when that applies, you ruin the game. You ruin the ability for the fight to occur and for the actual first-person shooter component of the game to even take place, which is what I think a lot of people who come to this game are seeking. So, as I say, a new player that walks into a fight, an even 48v48 fight, say it's a biolab, so a new player walks into an even, say, let's just, for scaling purposes, let's make it 24 to 48. They walk into a 24 to 48 fight. It's 50-50 aside. They've got the freedom to move. They can explore the map. They can explore their weapon. They can explore how the gameplay performs. They can explore how they can start thinking about how to get better. As soon as you throw an overwhelming number of force in there that kills them as soon as they walk out of a spawn room, or they have no ability to fight back on, they get robbed of all of that learning experience completely. And sure, they can go grab a tank. They can go grab a tank themselves. They can go grab an aircraft themselves. Are they going to stand a chance? Hell no, because the skill curve in those environments is even larger in some respects. So,
I see the dilemma, especially when one of my thoughts were in that video, and you just almost reiterated it again, was take an outfit like the Devil Dogs.
Yep.
Not today's Devil Dogs, because the population declined, but Devil Dogs, when we had a multi-platoon system very frequently, we professionalized the art of overwhelming firepower in a disciplined and organized fashion. And, spawn suppression was one of those elements, but, logistics control, I did a 3-hour podcast on this to just out it and just spill all the secrets. But
I remember it very well.
We used every part of that game to kill everyone we could and take the territory, which on the receiving end, on the impact side, can be, as you said, can ruin the gameplay experience. And I have a difficult time in my brain. It sounds like nowadays you now side with the opposite end. Let's say non-Devil Dog side, now the new player experience side. Whereas before you might not have. But I have a difficult time going on your side of the fence now when I think about what is the point of the game.
Yep, and that's where I sit, right? Because to me, I don't blame the players for playing that way, because that is the win condition. That is the end game. That is how you do it.
Thank you. That's right? Fair.
That's not a problem with the player. It's a problem with the game, which is like when you have a game, to me, that is entirely dictated by who can not make the fight happen first, which is how it works.
I take that. Yeah.
You rob any ability for back and forth, and you rob any ability for the shooter part of the game to take place. And I'm not saying that because shooting a spawn room door is not a first-person shooter experience. That's not a game.
I mean, if you're looking at it from meta, you know that you're not. The better play is to go one hex back, or to gal drop, or to find a logistical maneuver that gets you back into it.
The new player doesn't.
That's true. That is true. That is a dilemma.
The new player does not. The new player does not. And the new player, like, again, it's clear, like, okay, sure, the players that do stick around, they're the ones that find an outfit. They're the ones that actually want to come in and play the game with a group of people, right? But the player who just wants to come in and shoot some stuff, they found a free game that's got a cool looking shooting mechanic, they're out in 30 minutes. And that is a lot. That, I guarantee you, that is a huge percentage of the population that comes to this game. We are in a period of time where the Battlefield franchise is siphoning players out the arse. Why isn't PlanetSide growing? Because it doesn't provide a first-person shooter experience that is comparable for 90% of the population.
All right, check. A-firm. What about then? I don't see the answers taking away Hesh. I don't see that fixing it, because I'm just going to find another weapon. I mean, I don't even use Hesh.
No, you're right.
I use AP. I will still shoot around through someone just because I've been playing this game that long. Unless you take away my AP, what can you do? No,
I agree with that, and that to me is not the problem either. Oh. To me, that's not how we solve the problem. Hesh is a byproduct of the overarching problem to me. That is that this game provides zero objective for vehicles to do that is meaningful in their own way. As I said before, right? So as I said before, the game requires the community to self-moderate itself, right? If you bring 40 tanks to a fight, someone else has to bring 40 tanks to a fight, right? But 90% of these are
40 libs with Daltons.
Or 3 libs of Daltons, exactly. But 90% of the objectives in this game aren't vehicle focused. They're infantry focused only.
Yeah, that's true.
So the focus is entirely on the infantry side of the game, which I don't think that's not a bad thing. But you've got a combined arms title with a bunch of vehicle players that don't know what to do with their spare time, right?
Okay.
They'll kill the one bus that spawns from the vehicle terminal and trying to run away, and then they'll start heshing a spawn room or start APing
That's
a
exactly
spawn room.
right. As soon as I see something spawn, I'm on it. Like a pack of hounds of sharks. But then I'm back to Bloodstone.
Yeah, you're looking for something to do. And the problem we have is that there aren't enough people interested in the vehicle game because the vehicle gameplay isn't meaningful enough. It's kill bus, shoot spawn. Or if there's a Colossus on the ground, kill Colossus, shoot spawn. Yeah. So what you need to do, and this is the problem with the game that we have, is that the things I'm talking about are such high, wide scale changes that would need to happen that I doubt that they ever will happen. But if it were up to me, you would, make your territories much larger. You'd put vehicle capture points everywhere that required vehicle presence to capture. It would mean that vehicles would self-moderate themselves into fighting each other over these core objectives. You'd have the odd crossover of vehicles engaging with infantry and stuff like that, but it would be a lot more manageable. You would have the community moderating itself through the presence of specified objective gameplay for those arenas of the game.
That's what they did with Outfit Wars too. Before, when it was the 1v1v1, that mechanism allowed for PlanetSide to take place. But then when they switched to 1v1, the 2v1 didn't happen anymore. It changed the mechanism of the game, because it sounds like you're saying non-infantry play is incomplete.
I think it is, and because it's incomplete, it interferes with the infantry play.
That's true, because now I have nothing left to do but focus on you. Heavy assault.
Exactly. Exactly right.
I'm sorry, medic.
And the game is also not balanced around that. Heavy assault rocket launchers, while they have impact, are useless beyond 100 meters.
I die more often than I would like to admit from rocket launchers. I am not safe from those things. And now you got those little stupid rocklets. You've got the masthead. I am no longer. They're just plinking me away, and if I'm not careful, I will die.
I guess the main point for me is that, you're talking about, a vehicle that's, like you say you got a vehicle 300 meters away on the edge of a mountain shooting in.
That is what I try to do now.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work, though, because my accuracy is good.
Rocket launcher ain't going to do shit at that range. Yeah, so like my problem is not
taken.
the fact that my problem's not the fact that these things exist. My problem is that there's nothing for them to do that's meaningful. And I guess the only exception to that rule is the friggin' max suit, because
Ooh, let's do this. Let's do this, man. All right. So let me max suits. So sure, you used to be a proponent of them. I used to be a proponent of them, and I still am, and I still play them. Why did you flip? What happened to you, man?
What happened to me? Yeah, my third eye opened. No, max suits. So I used to be the proprietor of the opinion that, or not the proprietor, that's the wrong word. I used to be of the opinion, that's the word, that max suits were a great equalizer in skill for new players to come in and have a bit of fun. Until I realized, wait, no, the new player max loadouts are shite. They really are.
The new player max loadouts, as in the defaults?
Yeah, the defaults. Yeah.
Oh,
the
sure.
Ones that give you terrible.
Yeah.
And it only came down to the point where I realized that all the max suits I was dying to were people who were either low BR, high directive score, or high BR,
what does
high
that mean? Low BR, high directive?
So a BR5 with a 6,000 directive score, that's clearly not a new player. That's an alt account.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they've got directive on their account. That's an alt account that they've just created for funsies. Or it's a high BR player who's got a really suited out max gear, right?
Yeah.
It's 100% clear that the people that are abusing the power of the max suit as it stands are not the new players, because they don't know what they're doing. They're the ones that get taken out easily. They might get
the word
a kill with
abused.
it.
Was that a Freudian slip, or do you think that is abused?
Oh, I mean it. I mean it abused.
This is gonna be good.
I mean it as abused. I know what I said there. The skill, the way in which the max suit is abused, and I use that term very deliberately, it's clearly balanced as it stands as an equalizer of power in the infantry world, or as a means to break down doors or to stop doors from being broken down. But when you've got these people who and they're also a force multiplier, I want to keep that in mind. They're the only force multiplier that can touch a capture point. And I would argue that in the infantry game, a force multiplier shouldn't be mainable, because that's an element of the game that is, as we all know, force multipliers should really be situational, right? Aircraft, if you're maining an aircraft in an ESF, you're probably just shooting down other aircraft, or you're providing the odd air-to-ground spam, but you're not going to have an impact at every single base that you go to. A max suit that differs. A max suit can walk into any capture point. As I said before, 90% of the bases in this game are infantry only, really, and they can immediately have an impact like that. When you give a player an ability to have that impact 24/7, when your mechanic there is mainly meant to be an equalizer of some description, you've got a power disparity.
Which is intentional. Which is intentional.
Not to the degree yes, but I don't think it should be intentional to the degree in which it is.
Go on.
So if I put in the effort to kill a max suit, right? That takes more often than not 2 decimators, and I've got to Harlem shake my way out of the building to make sure he doesn't shoot me. Because his time to kill is monumentally higher than the one that I've got to impart on him. And I admit,
which is the point, though.
It is the point. But if I've got to do that, if I put in the effort to successfully take him out, and he's only replaced with a brand new one straight away, we've got a problem there. Max suits, they shouldn't be this thing that you can immediately call upon rapidly. There should be consequence behind having that degree of power in your hands. If you mess up with a max suit, you shouldn't be able to pull one for a while, in my mind.
All right, there's so many ways to go about this. I need to keep peeling back, because max suits cost $360. You can only pull 2 before you.
Well, they cost $450.
I'm thinking of a tank. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. Don't worry, I've got the same discount on my tank as well. Don't worry.
Thank you. $450, which helps me even more, by the way. So you can pull it. That's $800. You already, if you die twice before you refresh, at least 1 minute's worth of 75 ticks, let's call it, if you're a member, then you're out.
Can I posit something?
Yes.
If you die twice in a max suit that quickly, that's on you.
But that doesn't sound like. What is the significance of that? That one went over my head.
So
of course, it's on me.
Yeah,
but
yeah, if you've got a force multiplier that is that potentially powerful, because it is.
Yes,
it's very powerful.
Fair, agreed.
NC max suit, you turn around a corner and you just whack, you're dead straight away.
Yeah, I use Maddox now, by the way.
Me
I can
too.
Touch you further.
Yeah. I do when I pull a max suit too. But if you pull a max suit twice over and you run out of manites straight away with it, and you've got a tool that is that powerful in the game, you shouldn't be able to pull it again for a while. Like, you shouldn't have constant access to something that creates such a disparity in the power that an individual player can carry, right?
Why do you use the word constant? They cost $450.
It costs $450, but if you know what you're doing in a max suit, you can earn that $450 back straight away. Throw some nanite boosts on there, you're golden. Which I know a lot of max suit main players do. They'll have nanite boosts running.
I think I even responded to this comment in your video when you said this. I remember it saying. Go ahead.
There's one on Connery that I can name of, which I won't name, but there's one player on Connery in particular who is a max suit main. I ran into one today. That was a different player name. It might have been the same dude. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But when I was able to do it. I spent an entire stream earlier in the year in a max suit. I didn't have to spend a minute out of that max suit at all. I spent 4 hours straight in a max suit.
I remember you saying it then too. Where did I? Man, I wrote it down somewhere.
It was in my max suit video at the start of the year, I think.
Okay.
But I
think what I responded back with is, that's probably, it's starting to come back to me now, because then I reached out to Maelstrom to try and pull stats on max kills, and I told you I was willing to bet you that the number of players who survive main maxes are minuscule.
Yes, that is true. But as I say, we should balance around the top one. If you balance around the people who are performing at the top level, and there's outliers there, you've got a problem. You've got a problem when someone can, as I said, I dropped a KD of 10 over 4 hours in a max suit. That's wild. That is extreme for someone who is normally a 2 KD player. That is.
Tell me why that's a problem. If you're good enough and experienced enough to do that, why is that an issue?
Because the level of entry to perform well in a max suit is so minuscule. It's not. To me, you don't you point at somebody. You just got to aim center mass more often than not, and they'll die. They'll die straight away. There's no equivalency of needing to, counterplay with movement, quite frankly, unless you've got 2 heavy assaults looking at you with decimators, in which case, that's just teamwork coming into play. But max suits, my problem with max suits is not their power level, quite frankly. It's actually not that. It's that I don't mind that that's a thing. My problem with it is the level of consequence that applies to losing a max suit with that power level over the long period of time.
Oh.
If someone puts in the effort to kill you with a max suit, as a normal infantry player, and you can just go ahead and undo that progress straight away, that to me is a problem.
Okay, I think I see.
To clarify my position there.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, sorry, I might not have made that very clear earlier. My apologies.
You probably did, but there was so much other stuff where I'd be like, well, I mean, the Devil Dogs. Our history, our outfit lore says that we created the max crash bag in PlanetSide 1. With Evil Pig and that whole gang. And that we carried that over. And so that sort of standoff was a thing where we would show up with maxes and instant action and we would just, whatever. But if you saw the last Outfit Wars where WTAC tried to max crash a point and got annihilated by C4 and Decis, they didn't even make it through the doorway.
Yeah, I think that's more of an issue of, I don't remember that particular moment, but I'm thinking that's more to do with, versing. Well, who were they versing?
I don't remember.
If it was it recursion or me neither.
I want to say it was a TR outfit. Maybe it was Gobs. I don't remember, but I remember thinking like, you know that scene from The Last Samurai where the samurai like charging across the hill and then they put the Gatling gun is ba 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 and then they all die. That's what that was to me. Like the last run of the maxes.
yeah. No, I hear you. And like I understand that the max suits are they're relatively vulnerable. I get it. They are.
Yeah. Even if I'm running flak, I'm still a good C4. Dunzo.
Yeah, well, that's all well and good and all. I understand that. But it still requires a lot more effort from the player who's trying to counter you to get that job done. Which, again, max suits cost nanites. Fair enough. That's how it should work. But in saying that, if someone does put in the effort and successfully kills you, again, anyone who's good in situational awareness with the max suit or who has the aim or whatever, they've got this. If they've got all the skills that come from playing the core infantryman, if you will, and then apply it to a max suit, the proportionate power disparity there gets ever so greater, and it means that only
it feels like you almost did it for nothing.
Exactly right. So if I put in the effort to kill a max suit main player who's clearly going to be good at playing the max suit class, and they come back straight away with a new one and start killing me over and over again because I can't get the positioning and I can't get the angle to get him this time, or he dodges my decimator rocket over and over again, I think we've got a power disparity problem there. He's had his chance to go and farm for a little while in a skill suit. And then he just gets to do it all over again because he spent the time in the suit accumulating nanites passively to just be able to go ahead and do it again. There's a huge amount of reward available to a max suit player, but absolutely zero cost if they do it well.
Touche. I am willing to concede to that if you are also willing to concede to a higher, more, what am I trying to say? A higher cost to things like C4 and Decies, they have a lot more uses. I'm not too afraid of Decies, but the C4 thing, when you can throw that thing 10 feet out, no.
Oh, well, C4 used to be a lot worse. Remember that?
I remember, but it's still, like, if I'm willing to concede more penalty for maxes, if it weren't so darn easy for a cluster of people to just blow up everything with C4. All the time, everywhere. Through doorways, through windows. You just chuck it out, and then bam, 7 people die right there, including my max suit. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've had the same experience whenever I'm playing a max suit versus C4, but...
Oh my gosh. Well, I am not as good as you in a max suit, more than likely. So when I am playing... Okay, let me put it this way.
Like that.
I am an aggressive player to begin with. I'm an aggressive tanker. Sure. When I'm in the max suit... Probably because it just, I don't know, what I think it used to be. I go charging through a doorway, especially when we squad play, like my life means nothing. So when I've got a push going on, we got to take that point. The biggest, baddest thing in the room goes in first. And so that's me in a max suit, and I'm usually the first to die, which is fine.
Yeah.
I soak it up. But I'm in those situations constantly, and I run out of resources fairly frequently if I'm going to use a max. And it doesn't feel like what you described from when I use a max suit. And I don't know of many other max players in my sphere of influence that I would characterize as main maxes because of that.
Let me have a quick look at something quickly. I'm gonna look up the player that I mentioned earlier.
Okay. I have no doubt that there's outliers. And I'm willing to concede that, okay, if you do it right, just like in a tank, if I do it right, I'm maining it all night long. I get it.
Just searching them up.
I need there to be something that makes it a little bit less easy for a 2-click button and you just destroyed everyone within a 5-foot radius.
Yeah, I think it
it's like 75. I don't even use C4. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my posited for discussion, like I remember my posited discussion around max suits. Hang on, I'm gonna go find the video. Here it is. I'm trying to remember exactly what I did, and I pissed off a lot of people with this one. This is my most disliked video ever.
Yeah, I remember you saying that when I rewatched it. Your most disliked video.
But it's also one of my most. It's also up there with one of my most liked too. So what does that tell you? Yeah, I think my positive changes there were cost up to 650 nanites, a cooldown timer, and something else. I forget what the other thing was, but. I mean, I'm happy to I think the nanite cost would be overboard if there was a cooldown timer on it, because I think the cooldown timer addresses the problem as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, my problem is not the power level of the max suit, because I get it. Maxes are meant to be powerful. I'd have no problem with them being as powerful as they are, if there was an actual cost to benefit ratio of them being a comp, like if there was a cost to benefit ratio of me putting in the effort to kill a max suit and then feeling the impact of the long term, right? Of me feeling that like for a vehicle player, if I kill a tank, they've actually got to go back to a terminal, drive back. I get a moment of reprieve. I get a moment of, okay, things
especially
are calmer.
now they don't have remote deployment anymore.
Exactly. Huge. Which is actually a change I don't agree with, believe it or not. But anyway.
I agree with it as well. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, but it just went back to normal PlanetSide for me. Right into the terminal.
So you agree with it or you don't agree with it? Sorry.
I do.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I
mean, to be fair, the majority of our PlanetSide experience has been running to a terminal pulling a tank versus remote deployment. So
that's fair. That's fair. No, it
is a little bit more annoying because it's less time I get to spend in the tank. But ultimately, I'm just running to a terminal. But now it reveals back the old problem of I don't know every outpost that has a tank. I have to now rememorize all the. There's no indicator anymore.
Yeah. No, I take your point. Anyway, Yeah. So as I was saying, there's a moment of reprieve with the vehicles because they take time to set back up. With a max suit, that's not the case. You go back to the sunray. Oh, cool, max suit. I'm good to go again.
Fair. That's fair.
So maybe
I would ask in return that those C4s are for a mediocre player in a max. I can't imagine what it's like for a beginner max player, but those C4s are a big problem. I'm standing in a doorway. If I'm not like almost up the stairs, someone's able to kill me, throwing C4 through and just destroying it. I have maybe 0.2 seconds to kill them before they can detonate, or I'm dead. Even with flak.
Yeah. And that's why I posited the argument earlier that the max suit is clearly designed to be this, equalizer of power, and it's really just not performing at that level because for the things it's meant to be equalizing, it's just being used as a spam. I'm in a mech suit now. Ha, fuck you. So that's literally what it ends up being for a lot of the players.
No, at least it feels that way to me.
It's easy to kill now with the new anti-material rifles, and I do concede that has made life a bit easier. It still means that I've got to change off of a kit to make it happen, but it's actually still much more achievable than what it used to be. So
tell me about that, because I don't see it on the other end.
Oh, my point being, if I want to use an anti-material rifle, I've got to play engineer. I've got to go back to a terminal, swap, come back, go back to the class I was playing, that sort of thing. That's what I meant.
You can't be material rifle with another class?
No. Anti-material rifles are.
I really only play engineer, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, anti-material rifles are engineer exclusive.
Don't they have like another equivalent in another class? Huh. Okay.
No, you got the masthead and the archer and the short bow, which are all engineer only.
Railgun?
No, that's infant. That doesn't do extra damage to max. It pierces, but it doesn't do extra damage to max.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. So, I'll concede on that one. 450 is still a hefty price tag. I mean, if you did the 15-minute upon death, like I remember you saying, and you knocked it down to 2, fine. Do it.
Knocked it down to what, sorry?
225, 360. Make it equivalent to a tank cost. Even. But you still did 15-minute timer no matter what on death. Like that to me still does the same thing.
Well, that's the problem, right? Because it's clear that the max suit's cost is balanced around being a vehicle counter. It's designed like it's a tank on it's a tank. It's a tank on legs. But we all know the statistics of the vehicle play.
I can't asp into it.
Sorry,
I said I can't asp into it, so it's non-mitigatable.
No, and as an addition to that, the max, if you look at the kills with max suit weaponry stats that powered by Varunda, I think 95% of all max weaponry kills, I forget the stat, but it's like 85 to 95% of all max suit kills are with infantry weapons, anti-infantry weapons.
Fair.
So,
I used to use a lot of Ravens, but now I just tank all the time.
I used to use Ravens too, but again, as you said, it just became useless over time. So
yeah, fair. Okay, all right. I'm willing to let that one go now. Cool. That was good talk.
Yeah, it always is, mate. It always is.
So, base design. You had a lot to say about that one in your great video, I think I agree with most of your points on that one. I hope you make the walls higher too.
And it's not just the walls too. It's like, this is why I actually.
Your main point was that it's not exactly designed around the large scale play.
No, like all of the capture points in this game are with 3 doorways in a 10 by 10 room that you're trying to jam 180 people into. It's not a conducive experience. So yeah, I do feel like we've got a bit of a problem there, and yeah, this is why I'm relatively excited to see what they do with the words are fun with the new capture the conduit mode, because it makes use of more of the play space.
Oh yeah, CTF. We were playing that last night. Yeah, it's chaotic.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't had a chance to play with it much, but it makes use of more of the play space, which means that if you were to spread out the combat a bit, it might make the game less choke pointy, which I think is a very, very key step in the right direction.
Well, what it did do is, because when you grab the flag, you can pretty much choose your own adventure. Like, you have to somehow get from where you are to there, and a lot of light souls now I see doing that. But you're trying to like zigzag or run around, and now I'm starting to see a little bit of meta shift where the main infantry units are trying to create like a front line, almost like a tunnel for the CTF person to run through. And sometimes, it fails, but like last night we were at, what's that one above Course Ridge?
Indar excavation site?
Yes, Indar X, right? So Indar X has 2 of them, but everyone just goes for the shorter path because you have to run less. And also we were in J908, which sucked big time. That was so hard to try and to take down. Yeah. But yeah, to me, it expanded. Like, I couldn't just focus on A point anymore. Like, look at the spawn, look at the second, third tower levels. I had to be like, where's the flag? Where are they running to? How are they trying to, I had to go hunt them down. Yeah.
And that's cool. I think that's a much better use of the play space than what the capture point system does now. It really does put too many, like, things like tech plants, they work fine because they're huge bases. There's multiple entry points. There's wide open entry points in some places. There's a lot of ways to get around, but in most small outposts, which make up like another 70% of what this game's base design is, good luck.
Is it just a matter of like expanding the doorway or putting more doorways in?
This sort of just loops back to my point about make the play spaces bigger, increase the size of the hexes, put different objectives in there, spread the population out, and make it feel like it's a war over a large-scale territory as opposed to a single doorway.
That's fair. No, I agree with that.
Yeah. It's just a matter of repurposing the map, which again I don't ever envision happening because that's a huge tasking. It's massive. You'd have to basically throw the baby out with the bathwater and start again.
Do you think that would help with the new player experience?
I think it would definitely make the moment-to-moment gameplay a little bit more conducive.
How so?
I think new players would be able to enter more doorways and feel like they can make an impact. They can make an informed decision, right, over the information they're being provided, and go, okay, this is something I might actually be able to have a shot at getting a kill with. Like, if you go to Nason's Defiance and everyone's fighting over one tunnel, the one choke point tunnel, and there's just explosives ringing back and forth, and you're going to get PTSD from the one engagement you're there. you don't have any sort of ability to make an informed decision to go, yep, I can make an impact here, or I can go and fight here. That's just not going to happen.
Our chat is currently stuck on the sound it makes when you take a flag. It's like this. Bzz, 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 bzz. I couldn't figure out what the heck that was either. To be honest, I was sitting there at NRX and I kept hearing this. Zzz, zzz, zzz. I'm like, what is this? But
it sounds like every a bug zapper going off.
But it's someone the enemy picking up a flag, and it's the chat is pretty agreed that needs a second look.
yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. What's the time? Oh snap! It's 2:40 already. Holy crap!
You gotta go.
Shortly, yes. I'm meeting some folks at my new place, so I'll have to go pretty soon
let's
here, unfortunately.
Let's hit up. How long do we have? 10 minutes? 5?
5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We got through pretty good discussion. So, StratSide 11, you said losing is the most important part of life. Explain to me. Yep.
Look, I truly believe that the moments in which we learn, and this is not just in gaming, but in general, like the moments we learn most in life, are the moments in which we lose, right? The time you don't get the job interview, the time where you go through a rough as hell breakup, the time where you do get an E on that report card, those moments of loss, those moments of time where you go, oh shit, I actually didn't do, because when you're doing things right, there's an element of positive bias, right? You get that positive affirmation. You're like, cool, I did something good. You did something good. Whenever you get that positive affirmation, you're not challenged to look at yourself critically, in my opinion. You don't like, at least
I think you and I agree there.
Yeah. So it's like in gaming, if you spoon feed a win or a participation medal, if you will, I guess is what I'm thinking about here. If you spoon feed that to every single player that walks through the door, they're never, ever, ever, ever going to be told, okay, this is how I need to play to get better. Okay. They're never going to be told that, well, they might do so, but they're never going to be challenged to get better. It's why I believe the max suits are a problem, right? Because if you constantly win over and over again, you're going to be like, well, shit, I should just play max suit all the time, continue working on that. You're never going to be challenged to improve yourself as a player.
Okay. Connect that now. So, no, go ahead. I think you're about to do that. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Okay, we have 4 minutes left. I got your time. No worries.
Yeah. So no, please. I was pretty much done with my point. Please go on.
Connect what you just said with your new perspective about improvement and where you are about the new player experience. The new players, they lose a lot.
Yeah. So I think this point primarily was brought up with Outfit Wars, right? The 1v1 Outfit Wars experience. Yeah. Because the 1v1 nature of Outfit Wars meant that the skilled players took on the less skilled, and there was going to be stomps in how that game turned out. That is a moment for you to go, well, shit, we're not as good as we are 1-to-1 with these guys. And some people may have known that. But the PlanetSide 2 ecosystem allows you to equalize that with population, which, as we said before, kills fights, right? It potentially stalls, it turns into spawn camps, so on and so forth. People just leave, people just ditch the fight, whatever. Mm-hmm. But it stalls. But if you get that positive bias to say, well, no, we're winning, we don't have to do anything, we don't have to change our play style, we don't have to change what we're doing, then you're in that constant confirmation bias that you are doing the best that you very well can, where you may have the ability to do even better at a 1-to-1 ratio or at a 1-to-1 playing field with some of these guys. But because you're in that positive confirmation bias over and over again, you're not being challenged to do so.
I'm with you on that. I was making a leap, and tell me if I can make this leap. Can you say losing is one of the most important parts of life, and then look at the player experience and say, let's make it as easy as possible on them?
I think so. I still think having a welcoming new player experience is important. I don't think you should spoon feed them the whole way, though. I think give them tools that give them the capacity to do well. Like, give them the weapons that are competitive. Give them the lock-on launchers that let them counter aircraft. give them the bolt action sniper rifles that let them engage with other infiltrators on a level playing field, right? Make the playing field level, but don't make it so that they can perform day one without any degree of skill improvement out of the gate. Like, someone with previous first-person shooter experience may be able to come in and do some work. We get that, and they'll have to learn the quirks of the game, so on and so forth. But somebody who comes in day one, no first-person shooter experience at all, they are probably going to get slapped around a little bit, because that's just the nature of people being good in an environment where you aren't as good. And, you know, there's that conversation of skill-based matchmaking in other games and how that helps to equalize things a little bit, but that also comes with its own
which we don't have here.
We don't have here at all. But I'm also of the opinion that skill-based matchmaking has gotten too good for its own too accurate for its own good as well, which is a video I discussed recently as well.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't seen that one. Was it a Modern Warfare one?
Yeah. Yeah. I posit that games have become robotic as a nature of perfect skill-based matchmaking, and that there's no visual degree of improvement, and there's also no ability for people who are of particularly high skill to just not sweat out for a day. But anyway,
I track.
Anyway,
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah,
we're gonna need to close it off there in order to make your 5 minutes.
Yeah, my apologies. I've got to. Yeah.
Yeah. This was good. I think I got most of it. I could even do a part 3 later on, but I think we pretty much got there in terms of. But the main thing I want to know is, how was that transition? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And then what were the depths of what you believed? So I think we got there.
Yeah, I agree. And
it's where we can bow tie it off, Cami.
Yeah.
So your Modern Warfare, your PlanetSide 2, and for everybody watching, give him a like, give him a subscribe, go on and support him. He's been one of the longest PlanetSide 2 content creators we've had. So, Cami, appreciate it, man. Love the talk.
Always, mate. It's been great. It's always good coming on here.
Alrighty, gonna start the ending stream and out. Let's get a raid going. Yeah. All right, man.
This is gonna be tough. This is a tough situation. Let's see if I can actually go do some ninja work and go to the top. Let's see if we can do this. Oh my God, Lanzer, how's it going, buddy? Thank you so much for coming by. Sending that party over here. How was your stream? I'm about to get deleted. Every time I get killed, Lanzer, I have to do a squat. And somehow Geiger's got about, like, what is it, 15?